All right, so like I say, Bruce Schneier is a famous security expert, and he's written a good article about how Doge is hacking America, which is quite important. And his point is they're violating all the security protocols that are put in there to limit who can get at sensitive data. There's also the issue that Elon Musk has no legal justification for what he's doing. Our whole system doesn't work this way. You have Congress debate on a bill, you have the Senate pass the bill, then you have the president sign it, then there's a decision, we are going to have this program like USAID, and if you want to stop the money going to it, you can't just have some random one guy say, I don't want to spend this money and just turn it off. That's going through the courts. But aside from that, he's just getting people who don't even have security clearance, random teenagers with histories of cybercrime and betraying their racism and betraying their company by leaking company internal secrets, and puts them in contact with our CIA employees, FBI employees, all the financial data, and so on. And so that's the problem. These are the essential data from our government, which is protected by great levels of security. In fact, one of the simplest security measures is only a few people are cleared to access all that data. And Elon Musk just has a bunch of teenagers trampling through it, sending it up to cloud AI services and just doing crazy things with it with no control at all. And so he points out that he's an expert in security. He's been around for a long time. There's a lot of security principles it violates, like separation of duties. Separation of duties means one person can't do something important alone. They have to have their work reviewed by another person before it takes effect. And all these measures have been ignored. So this is crazy. However, Trump is also doing something most dictators do and most autocrats do. He's appointing people that are completely incompetent and unqualified to all the positions. Like the head of intelligence is now Tulsi Gabbard, who is effectively a foreign agent working for hostile foreign countries. So the point is, the reason why this generally happens when you have dictators is because those people rely entirely on the goodwill of the dictator for their position. He appoints somebody who has no possible skills or experience to justify them being in that role, so the only way they can hold on to the role is to slavishly obey the dictator. It's a way to create loyalty as long as you don't mind the government not functioning correctly. And Trump and Elon Musk especially, at this point, rich people don't think they need the government. They think the government is just a waste of time, takes their money and gives it to poor people, and they don't give a damn what happens to poor people. So from their point of view, just destroying the government and burning it down is the logical thing to do. And that's what they're doing. Some Republicans appear to be finally noticing that this is not what they thought they were voting for. They thought they were voting for someone who was going to lower grocery prices, but in fact he's taking down the programs that buy the corn produced by the farmers and provide Medicare and Medicaid to help people and all that jazz. And they didn't really want to see all that destroyed. So we'll see if any of the pushback appears in time to do something about this. In 2026, we will presumably have an election in 2028, and then we can start trying to undo some of this damage. And the courts are already blocking some of it. So Russia has got a new engine which is much faster than the current rocket engines we're using. And therefore, you could get to Mars in just 30 days. Now, Elon Musk, his big thing is to get to Mars. He thinks people are going to live on Mars. He thinks he's going to save the human race by colonizing Mars so that if like an asteroid impacts Earth, the human race will survive. The problem is this is complete garbage, like most of what he says. It's complete fantasy. The astronauts would get a lethal dose of radiation just on the trip there. They'd get lethal dose of radiation quickly living there. They wouldn't be able to generate enough fuel to come back. It is appalling. This rocket can go faster, and that's fine, and it's good that they're developing the technology, but the correct thing to send to Mars is robots, probes like Voyager, and the Mars rover and all that jazz. Sending humans there is insane. As far as anybody can tell, the humans would not survive the trip, so what was the point of that? This is why God made robots. Anyway, so North Korean hackers have a new way to attack people, and I hadn't seen this one. This is a social engineering trick. What they do is you have to register, they convince you you're getting something good. They develop a relationship with you and then say you have to install this thing. I don't know if they promise that this thing will make you money or what, but somehow you're supposed to register your device. And so they just tell you, open PowerShell as administrator, then copy and paste this code. So, of course, if this is malicious code, it'll take over your machine, give them remote control of it, steal your passwords, cryptocurrency, wallet keys, and that sort of thing. It's just surprising. Hopefully people won't fall for this too much, but I'm sure some people do. So that's a simple social engineering technique. Of course, that will defeat your security controls if the user actually does these foolish things. So Larry Ellison, another famously extremely evil supervillain type multi-billionaire, made Oracle. He has said that he thinks everybody should just have cameras watching everything they do so the government can monitor everything everybody does, just like Big Brother out of the Orwell story. And therefore, that would end all crime and stuff. This is also what Putin said. Putin said you should have no anonymous commentary of any kind on the internet. Everybody should always have their real name attached to everything they say, and that would end like a bunch of crime. And by the way, it would end a bunch of crime, but it would also put the government in charge of everything, and they would then oppress you in other ways. So anyway, he wants to take all the data in America and put it in an Oracle database, and then the government can easily search for anything. So it's the data version of his previous thing where he wants to put cameras everywhere and monitor everything everybody is doing. All right. And so I've heard tell that the San Francisco is now $800 million in debt, and therefore I expect another round of budget cuts at the college, although it hasn't happened yet. And here they point out another thing: the transit systems are in big trouble, of course, because ever since COVID, most people are not going to the office anymore, so they don't have to ride BART and AC Transit and Muni and all that stuff, so they don't have enough ridership to pay for themselves. And apparently the transit systems all by themselves are more than $800 million in debt. And they're trying to get money from the state to bail them out. It's not clear what's going to happen. Various big companies are trying to force people to go back to the office, but they're beginning to admit, like they also did this for the federal government. This is one of Elon Musk's moves: force every government employee to go back to the office. And they have admitted the only reason they say this is because they know a bunch of people will quit, and it's an easy way to lay off people. It's also a really stupid way to lay off people, because the people you end up laying off are, of course, the high performers who can find another job. The people who put up with this and go back to the office are people who don't have very many skills and can't get another job, so they're forced to comply with this demand. So Trump's resignation offer to all federal employees, saying they should all quit, and if you quit now, you'll get 9 months of severance pay. If you don't quit, you'll probably just be laid off with no severance pay pretty soon anyway. That was blocked for a while. Now the block has been removed on the technical grounds that the people who filed the lawsuit are not directly affected enough by this, so they don't have what's called standing. Standing is a logical legal principle. It's just sticks in my craw a little bit because the Supreme Court last year completely ignored issues of standing to push through Republican priorities that they wanted to push through. They just completely ignored the fact. There's one where they wanted to push through a pro-discrimination against gay people bill, and so they let somebody sue saying that they had a business making wedding cakes, and gay people asked for a cake, and they didn't want to serve the gay person. They wanted the right to not serve the gay person, and then it turned out that it was all completely fake. The person who initiated the lawsuit did not, in fact, have the business. No gay person had asked for a cake. They were just thinking about maybe making a business, and that's a clear violation of standing. And the Supreme Court just totally ignored that and ruled anyway. So, you're supposed to have standing, but they ignore it when they want to. Does the government own the data that got authorized access? What the data is the financial data being used to make all payments from the Treasury. So it is Medicare, Medicaid payments. So the data is everybody's Social Security number, address, I would imagine information about their medical conditions, their health insurance, things like that, and all the other payments being used. And unfortunately, the payroll for the FBI and the NSA and the CIA, which is highly confidential, those are things that people believe they have access to. Now, nobody knows what access they actually have or what they've done, because they're just walking in buildings and taking over the computers and firing everybody who tries to stop them. So they're not going through any process whereby they would be granted the access and the access would be limited or watched. I don't think anybody really knows what they got to or what they're doing with it. There is no accountability whatever. That's the problem. This is why when you have top secret data and confidential data and really sensitive data at any company. You don't just let random people wander in and just play with it. You force them to go through an approval process to make sure they're reliable, and then you have an auditing process and an oversight process where you watch what they've done, you check to see if they did it correctly, you monitor to see if they're doing unauthorized things with it, and none of that is happening. Elon Musk is operating with the Silicon Valley move fast and break things approach, where you just barge in. He said, we'll just turn off all the money, and then the important things will complain, and then we'll find out which ones to turn back on. I know some people that do this with network services. We'll just turn off the server and see who complains. And that might be okay with a server running email at a company, but it's really not okay with the finances coming out of the US government. No other teams audit what Doge is doing. It's just whatever Elon Musk likes, and they cancel anything Elon Musk laughs at. So the most famous one is they claimed they shut down the entire US aid, our foreign aid program, because they said we were sending $50 million worth of condoms to Hamas. And then after a while, they said we were sending $50 million of condoms to Hamas, and they were using it to build bombs. And then they said we were sending $100 million in condoms to Hamas, and none of that was ever true. They were sending some condoms to a completely different nation to stop HIV. None of it was going to Hamas. None of it was being used to make bombs. So they just make up stuff. Elon Musk lies like crazy. You look at his Twitter feed, he just is like Donald Trump. He sees some headline on Fox News, or more often a tweet based on somebody who third-hand saw a headline on Fox News, and that's enough proof for him to just cancel an agency. So, and this is all completely illegal, and all kinds of lawsuits are in progress, and we're going to see how much good that does. Anyway, I'm going to stop the recording of the